G'day tubers, how are we people? Hope you are all well and not suffering from the China virus. Thank you to my subscribers and my viewers and anyone else who contributes anything at all to these videos. Well, let's not muck about. This is part 2 with a little JAP Type 3. It's not a restoration, it's just a clean up. We're not putting everything brand new, as I said. So let's go with this one, guys.
Assembly time, tubers. As usual, I'll start with the valves. I'll get to use my fancy bloody valve spring compressor tool again. It's a ripper, that, I love it. Exhaust valve, as you can see, the seat's pretty ordinary. I'm not replacing it. It's not a working engine. I mean, it'll run, it's, you know, but it's not going back to full-time work or anything, so that'll be perfectly all right for that. It's not worth spending the money on, I don't think. But having said that, yeah, let's start putting some valves in. Can't get much easier than that, people. Couple of minutes with the old special tool and the valves went straight in. Next to go in, tubers, are the crankshaft seals. Make sure you tap them in evenly, put a little bit of oil on them just to help them slide, and you'll feel when they go home. You can sort of see there it's pushed up against the housing there. Same as the one in the crankcase. Yeah, just tap them until you sort of hear a solid sound, and that's usually home. Crankshaft bearing is fitted with the retaining bolts in place. Next to go into the cam followers, tubers. Don't muddle up your order. You put your exhaust in your exhaust, your intake on your intake, and put a bit of the old pre-lube on it, just as a precaution. Camshafts in, tubers, and just about to put the crank in. You can see that bit of yellow paint there, and if you look, you can make out a dot in the middle of it, and if you look at the crank, right there, you can see that dot's got to go in the middle of those two teeth. So that will mean she's timed correctly. Don't know how well you can see that, tubers, but if you look, those two teeth have lined up nicely, so that should be timed. I jumped the gun a little bit, tubers, had the cam and crank in, and forgot about the actuating arm for the governor. So I had to pull the crank and cam back out and put that little arm in for the governor, so that should be all right now, shouldn't be a problem. Just about to put the housing on the side there, tubers, this one, that's got the other bearing retainer and the seal, of course. Just put a light smear of Permatex gasket maker on it, very light. I don't like this, I don't mind the stuff, it just, some people take great pride in putting heaps of it on, and then it just pushes out from the sides and it just looks like crap. So just a light smear, that's all that's needed with this stuff. This flange is very tight to put in, tubers, because you've got to push it in on the bearing. As you can see, the gap's slowly closing up there. But what we've done is we just put the nuts on and just pull it in very, very evenly, and it's going all right, and we shouldn't have any trouble with it. Just check the crank rotates as you're putting it in. Well, that's that side housing on, tubers. Yeah, come up all right. And the crankshaft still turns a little bit firm, but she still turns, so it should loosen the moment it starts running with a bit of luck. I didn't see any thrust washers or anything, so yeah, I'm tipping the end floats just a touch tight, but should be okay. That's the piston in, tubers. Remember to torque it down to the correct tension and to bend over your lock tabs so the nuts on the conrod don't loosen off and fall into your nice new engine. Just put the sump on, tubers, or the bottom pan, or whatever you want to call it. So we're just basically closing up the motor. Probably put the cylinder head on next. And yeah, she's starting to fall back together. Well, that's the cylinder head on, tubers. I've said it before and I'll say it again, just pull them down evenly, go across, you know, like if you're doing up a wheel nut. Just do them up nice and evenly and to the correct tension. We'll start putting all the stator plate or ignition plate, whatever you want to call it, back together. Once you start putting a bit of colour on these old motors, they tend to start looking all right. Well, that's the breaker plate on tubers. Points have been set to about 12 thou. Keyway's in. Just about ready to put the flywheel back on, I think. That's the flywheel on tubers. And just spinning him over, we have a pretty good looking spark. It's nice and blue and you could light your cigarette off it. Well, that's the carby on tubers and the little rocker cover breather in there. Next to go, we'll put that governor linkage on. Well, that's the governor linkage on, guys. Appears to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. Should be all right. Starting to look like an engine now, tubers. We're getting pretty close. Missing a few nuts and bolts, or I've thrown them out or lost them or eaten them or something, but yeah, cowling and all that went on all right. Yeah, just got to round up a few little nuts and bolts and put the air cleaner tube on, and we're getting pretty close. Throttle controls back on, guys. Seems to be working okay. It's getting full throttle and then back to idle, so can't be fairer than that. Well, tubers, the tank's back on. Fancy fuel taps all hooked up that we fixed up. It's looking all right. Got to put oil in it. Have to finish off the air cleaner and got to make an exhaust. But yeah, she's coming up pretty nice, this one. I can even put the sticker on there too, I reckon. Just screwing around with the air cleaner, guys. Not actually an air cleaner, it's a breather cap, one of those aftermarket bloody Chinese, you know, speed shop special parts. But it'll be fine to clean the air for this thing. That tube fits on there, sort of like so, up for the updraft carby. That clamp goes around it. I turned up this thing. That'll sit in this hose with the rubber grommet, and then that sits in that and it all clamps up, and that should be just fine. So we'll see what it looks like. There we have an air cleaner, tubers. Come up all right. Had to clean up the rubber a little bit, but yeah, that'll be okay. That'll do the job. Well, that's it, tubers. The JAP Type 3 is done. Got the air cleaner on, fabbed up an exhaust, put some juice in it, put some oil in it. Looks all right. There's only one thing that is the proof of the pudding, and will it run? And we're just about to try that now. Well, that's it for the engines, tubers. I've cleaned them all up. So that's the one we just finished. And the other little Type 2. And the BSAs. And of course the poor little Villiers down there, that's a bit sad, but she runs. A couple of other projects. And of course them. So yeah, we're starting to fill up our shelves.
Well, that's it for the engines until I buy some more tubers or find them. They're not that easy to find. Stay well, people. Keep away from the China virus. And I shall talk to you very, very shortly. We've got some more projects coming up. See you guys. Have fun.